Hello, this is RV Vagabond Jerry, and I'm here for the 10:30 talk on Winnebago Today, and I'm going to video the speech from a man on the management team of the board of directors of Winnebago. It's a long speech, but I think if you stick with it, you will really learn something valuable that you can use if you're a Winnebago owner or considering to be.
Good morning. How is everybody? Good? All right, I'm going to put my cheat sheet up here. I'll come back to the motorhome business here probably at the end of my comments, but we're very pleased with a lot of the things that Brian described in his comments to you this morning. So a lot of good progress going on there. So what I thought I'd try to do is just give you an update on who we are and where we're going as an enterprise, and that's kind of the term we use for the overall company. Winnebago Motorhomes is one of 5 different business units in the organization. It certainly is the biggest part of our legacy over the last 61 years. It's an important business, but it's not the only business. So I'm going to try to give you an update as to sort of how the parent company is doing, to hopefully give you confidence that as an overall organization we're headed in a stable, strong direction, and that we have the fortitude and the foundation to continue to support each of the individual businesses. So, I've done a number of these at the Grand National Rally each of the last number of years, and I've always started with our vision, and I'll do the same thing this morning. I'm a big believer that in order to be a special company, you have to have your employees rallied around a North Star. They have to understand what you're trying to build. And ultimately, there are a number of important things we talk about at Winnebago Industries on a regular basis. And one of them is that we're here to enable extraordinary experiences for our customers as they travel, live, work, and play in the outdoors. We are an outdoors company focused on our customer. We want you to have extraordinary experiences using our products, no matter how you use them. Whether you travel a lot, whether you literally go to Florida or Arizona and live in a unit for a majority of the year, whether you work out of our products, and increasingly we're finding more and more people are making a living out of our products, or they're playing with our products. It could be the Revel 4x4 product that Brian referenced, the Class B Extreme Outdoor Explorer van, or candidly it could be one of our 30-foot luxury fiberglass boats that's made by our Chris Craft boat business. So we're here to help create those extraordinary experiences with you through our products. We want to do that through a business model of quality, innovation, and service. We do not want to be the low-cost producer in this industry or any of the industries we compete in. We want to be one of the respected companies for making the best product, creating differentiation and innovation, and as Brian talked about, giving you the best customer experience through service after you buy our products. Now, there are a number of other brands that are trying to do that. We need to be the best, but in the RV industry, there are a whole bunch of brands that are not living up to those 3 things. And so we definitely want to be in that upper atmosphere in terms of delivering QIS. The other thing that we talk about all the time is creating lifetime advocates. And I'll come back to our business strategy here a little bit, but we're trying to create people that when they enter the outdoor lifestyle and ultimately decide, in this case, to buy a recreational vehicle, that they get into our brands relatively early in their life and they stay with our brands as they graduate through their RV life cycle. When I got to the company almost 4 years ago, one of the challenges in terms of how we were structured is that we were sometimes the 3rd or 4th product that somebody had in their life. They bought something else at least once or twice or almost 3 times before they finally figured out that Winnebago was the best brand to buy. And so we want to get to those customers even earlier in their RV life so that we can get to know them and help graduate with them as they decide what products are right, regardless of whether they're 40 years old, 60 years old, 80 years old, and no matter how they use the product, we want to be there for them. And the last thing that we talk about in terms of vision is building a premium outdoor portfolio. And I'll talk quickly about the priorities the board gave me again, but we are trying to create a portfolio of businesses that have a golden thread tied through them in terms of premium products, premium teams and talent, premium channel partners, and a premium experience. That is the collection of businesses that we're trying to ultimately assemble here at this company, and each one of them will have to be built on their own and face the market and earn your business on a standalone basis. But behind the scenes where you can't see, we're going to work feverishly to find synergy and tie these businesses together so that any one business in our portfolio is healthier because it's in our portfolio as opposed as if it were a standalone business. So we are on a mission to build not the biggest company, but the best, but a company that has a portfolio of premium outdoor lifestyle brands. On this stage, I've mentioned before that when I had the opportunity to join Winnebago, the board gave me 3 priorities. And so you're going to hear consistency this morning from me on our priorities from the board and our strategies as an overall company. Those remain consistent. Excuse me. The board said, number 1, we want you to continue to build a winning and leading motorized business. And candidly, a number of years ago, we had a lot of good things happening, but there were also a number of things that weren't probably on the right track that we needed to kind of either slow down or stop and try to determine a new way forward. So, restore leadership in our motorhome business. Number 2, become relevant in the towables business. Towables in the RV industry still accounts for about 87 to 88% of the units in North America and about 70% of the dollars. And 2 of our biggest competitors, Thor Industries and Forest River, they were eating our lunch, you could say, in terms of overall business because they were playing in towables and we really weren't. And they were using their profits from their towables businesses to attack us on the motorized side and try to take share from us there. We had a small towables business called Sunnybrook that we bought in 2010, but we were not running the Sunnybrook towables business, and by the time I got here, it was called Winnebago, with any real conviction about competing in the market, and that's changed. The third priority was, the board said, we need you to diversify. You've probably heard me say, if you've been to this same session before, that Winnebago had a near-death experience in 2009 and 2010. Our revenue fell from $1.1 billion to $211 million in the span of about 4 years. We lost 85% of our revenue. And it is probably through the grace of God, but also the hard work of a number of leaders that certainly came before me and a number of the rest of us, that this company somehow stayed liquid and survived without going bankrupt, or as a public company being overtaken by activist investors. But the board said, no mas, we do not want to go through that again. You have to make sure that the next time a great financial crisis or recession comes, that this company has more than one leg, that being a motorized business, to stand on. So those are the 3 priorities from the board. I've talked in the past about 5 key strategies that we've been focused on. Number 1, build a high-performance culture. And that's a combination of probably 3 things. Number 1, having the right talent in the right place. Competing to be a preferred supplier or preferred employer in our communities, and making sure that we have the very best talent for the positions, obviously, that we have to fill. And those can come from people that have tremendous industry experience, but it's also helpful at times to infuse some good energy from outside industries with some people that come in and challenge the status quo and add to the accretive talent pool. Number 2, you want to make sure that your team knows where you're going. We created a vision statement. We now hold regular meetings with all of our employees, especially here in Forest City and in the North Iowa campuses. They know what our goals are, they know how we're doing, They know what's expected of them. But you want to make sure you have alignment and accountability around the goals in the business. And then the last element of building a high-performance culture is engagement. And for the first time in March of 2018, we did an engagement survey at our company. We surveyed almost 4,600 employees. We have an 83% response rate. They answered 16 questions and a very open-ended question about how they like working at our company. And so, for the first time ever, we asked, how do you like it here? And tell us what's good or what's not good. And I may have told you before, but one weekend after we got the survey results back, I sat on my couch over an entire weekend and read 833 verbatim written responses from our employees about what it's like to work here. And to be honest, they weren't always the nicest things. But you know what? You have to read them, you have to digest them, and you have to determine what to do with them. So we are trying to build a culture around talent, around accountability and alignment with goals, and around engagement. Our second enterprise strategy was strengthen our core business, that being RVs. We will forever have a core business around recreational vehicles. We may diversify and get into a number of other outdoor lifestyle arenas, but we have to be excellent at recreational vehicles in the businesses and brands that we choose to compete in that space. So we've been very focused over the last 3 years in trying to strengthen our core RV businesses, and today we have 3 of them: Winnebago Motorized, Winnebago Towables, and a company we bought in November of 2016, Grand Design, which I'll talk about in a second. The third enterprise strategy was become operationally excellent. There was probably a time in Winnebago's past where we were undoubtedly operationally excellent. And in some areas of our company, when I arrived, we probably were pretty good, but we weren't pretty good in as many places as we needed to be. We need to be operationally excellent in product quality, employee safety, and a spirit of continuous improvement and productivity. As Brian said, we owe it to our employees that they go home in the exact same shape they came to work in the morning. And we have been committed with the leadership from a top-down standpoint, but increasingly with the engagement from a mass employee standpoint of looking out for each other and being safer. We have also put a renewed focus on product quality, and as Brian talked about, service. And guys, we are far from reaching our potential there. But in many ways, we stopped the bleeding that was happening in late 2015 and 2014. I get a lot less letters, phone calls, emails from customers about products we've made in the last 2 or 3 model years than I did in the 3, 4, 5 model years before that. But we are far from perfect. We've got a lot to work on, and we are trying to put quality management systems in place to make sure that quality is built in, first and foremost from a design standpoint, and then it's executed with as high level of perfection as we possibly can through the rest of our process. Our fourth enterprise strategy is about being digitally connected to our customers. The world is changing. It is becoming more electrified, and it is also becoming more connected, right? And I know everybody probably in this room has a different level of engagement, high to low, with smartphones and laptops and a whole bunch of other digital or electronic tools, but the world is changing. And tomorrow's customers, 5, 10, 20 years from now, are going to expect the products to be engaged with differently. They're going to expect to engage differently with us. Very candidly, there are very few 40-year-olds who are highly experienced with a Phillips screwdriver. That's just the way it is, right? And they're used to getting immediate answers, right? They're used to having self-service. They're used to being digitally connected no matter where they go. And you see organizations like KOA Campgrounds and others working feverishly to try to create connected campgrounds and Wi-Fi in different places. So whether you're a technology lover or maybe you're a hater, we have no choice but to become more digitally connected through our products and our processes with our customers out of competitive necessity in the future. Because if we don't do it, somebody else will, and tomorrow's customer values those things. In fact, most of today's customers actually value those things. The last strategy is, again, we are pursuing profitable diversification within the company. We absolutely want Brian Hazelton and the Winnebago motorhome business to be as big and as fantastic and profitable and satisfying to you all as it possibly can be. But we've got to build some more things so that the table has enough legs to weather storms, but also potentially leap ahead of our competition. So those are our 5 key strategies. We're actually going to have our new chairman of the board here on campus later today and this evening, a gentleman named Dave Miles. As a public company, we're governed by an independent board of directors. We have a board which consists of 8 members. I am the sole management member of the board, but we have 7 independent directors that are looking out as a fiduciary responsibility and as a governance responsibility for our shareholders that the company is running well. And very candidly, that management, like myself, are doing our jobs. So Dave will be here. We've had Bob Cisano, our previous chair at GNR in the past. Dave will be here today and tonight with his wife. And Dave and the rest of the directors are very focused on making sure that we are having a sound strategy. We are balancing the needs of different stakeholders, employees, shareholders, dealers, and customers. But that ultimately, at the end of the day, that we're creating a business that has a sustainable atmosphere to it, so that we're not only going to celebrate our 61st anniversary like we did this last February, someday we'll celebrate our 100th anniversary as an independent Winnebago Industries company. 6 of our 7 independent board members have changed or are new to our company in the last 4 years. And why is that important? That's important because we are committed to making sure that we've got the very best board members asking the toughest questions to us about how to make sure we're doing the right things. And we want to make sure that complacency and comfort don't settle in, and the board got to a place probably about 4 or 5 years ago where maybe it was a little bit too complacent. So we've been very intentional in trying to turn that over and make sure that we have a group of individuals who are holding management to the highest level of responsibility. And again, we have a long ways to go. I have 11 direct reports. 10 of the direct reports are in positions like Brian is. So Brian is one of my 10 direct reports. I've got folks that lead Winnebago Motorized, Winnebago Towables, Grand Design, Chris Craft, a Chief Financial Officer, a General Counsel, a VP of Operations, a Chief Information Officer, and I'm probably missing some, VP of HR, all on our executive leadership team. And we are chartered to work to drive, hopefully, almost 5,000 employees to get up every day and try to create the very best experience for you. And so that team is extremely focused and working together, not just as individuals running their own business or departments, but working together as a team to try to figure out how we as a company compete more effectively in the future. So again, the portfolio, there's been a number of events over the last number of years that have been really important. In November of 2016, we went after that number 2 board priority around being relevant in towables, and we bought a company called Grand Design RV. And they were a fast, hot, emerging RV company with extremely strong talent that had been in the RV industry, especially on the founder side, for more than 30 years individually, and more than 80 years collectively. We bought Grand Design in 2016. They were $450 million in sales. And as we sit here today, and we don't release exact numbers, but they have annual revenue over $1 billion 3 years later. They have doubled in size. And very candidly, they're one of the brands in the RV industry, and we're so proud that they're in our portfolio. They're one of the brands in the RV industry that get the quality, innovation, and service business model. They make high-end, luxury, fifth wheelers, toy haulers, travel trailers, and they give a great product and customer experience through a very good dealer network, and we're proud to have them in our portfolio. So that was a big event for us. It added reach in terms of product and dealers, but it also added financial stability and a runway for growth for us going forward. At the same time, we also made a very conscious commitment to stand up our Winnebago Towables business. If you remember a little bit earlier, we had bought Sunnybrook in 2010. It was financially distressed. Those were tough times back then. The family that had owned and run Sunnybrook was ready to get out. We bought it. I got here in early 2016, and it still was a very small business. And with all due respect to the people that were running it or working on it, the company was not investing in it like we cared, at least to the degree that I think we needed. Winnebago Towables is very important to us because they attract a younger customer and a customer with less affluency or discretionary savings to get into the RV lifestyle. Remember when I said that years back we used to be somebody's third or fourth, brand in their RV lifestyle? Well, Winnebago Towables is very strategic for us because we can hopefully now compete along with Grand Design, but with our flagship brand Winnebago, we can compete for somebody who's got a Subaru or a Jeep Grand Cherokee in their driveway and wants to get into the RV lifestyle. And they might only have $20,000 or $40,000 to spend on a new RV, but they're excited and they want to get into the business. And guess what? The Winnebago brand fits. It stands for what I've been talking about. And we are collecting those customers now in the Winnebago Towables business, and I hope they graduate through that business. And someday they're coming over to the motorized catalog and they're looking at Class A's and Class B's and Class C's and saying, hey, I want to stay in the Winnebago family and just graduate up. In 3 years, we have doubled the Winnebago Towables business. We have tripled our profits there. And we've recently just invested almost $15 million of capital into their campus in Middlebury, Indiana, because we are intent on them continuing to grow and being very strategic. So those two, along with some massive decisions on the motorized side, to pour gasoline on the fire of the Class B business and introduce some of the products that Brian talked about, to make a very difficult decision to ultimately reinvest in Iowa and bring diesel manufacturing back from Oregon when previous leadership had moved it out to Junction City. We're bringing that back to Forest City, and our diesel line is not where we want it to be right now, but I can assure you that the multi-year product plan that we have on paper is a good one that will make good forward progress on becoming more competitive again in our diesel business. Here comes the diversification outside of RVs. In June of 2018, so right before this event last year, we decided to enter the marine market. Why? We believe marine has very similar secular characteristics to the RV market in terms of future growth. Guess what? Less people are playing golf, less people are playing tennis, less people are skiing, more people are actually camping and boating again. And our business is around creating extraordinary experiences for you and your family and your friends in the outdoors. And we believe RVing and boating, no matter the cyclicality of our business, will continue to grow in popularity over the next 20 and 30 years. And the value chain in marine, in how you make a boat, how you sell it, how you engage with a channel, how you service it, is actually quite similar, but certainly different, but quite similar to what we do on the RV side. There's metal bending, and there's painting, and there's welding, and there's lamination. There's a lot of similar characteristics between those products. You have appliances and furniture and wiring, but it's a different customer a lot of times with different passions, fishing, wake surfing, you name it. So we wanted into that space because we believe that that's going to actually grow. And we're about premium brands, so we started on the top with the Aston Martin of the marine industry, that being Chris Craft. A 144-year-old brand, 145 now, 145-year-old brand. Think about that. It's been around for 145 years. And a lot of you know the Chris Craft brand through the old woodies, the old wooden boats that a lot of people restore and still put out on some of our nation's lakes and waterways. We don't make wooden boats anymore, but we make the world's most beautiful fiberglass boats between 20 and 40 feet right now. Inboard, outboard, stern drive. I mean, we are building a business there, and it's our way to get into a different industry, learn about it, hopefully help that team be even more successful. And I'm pleased to report after 1 year of ownership that they are exactly on the plan that we had put down for when we acquired them. And I can't tell you, when I go out into the marketplace, whether it's to talk to folks like you or it's to talk to investors on Wall Street in New York City, when you mention that we have that Chris Craft in our portfolio, it's like putting a cherry on top of our strategy for them. The light bulb goes off and they go, I get it. You're trying to create a collection of premium outdoor brands around quality, innovation, and service. And you have Winnebago, you have this tremendous young brand in Grand Design, and you have Chris Craft. And most likely, guys, we're going to add others in the future if we think it fits. So I'll wrap up some of my comments to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. As a public company, we went public in 1970. We'll have our 50th anniversary on the stock exchange next year in 2020. We may accept their invitation to go ring the bell someday out there and celebrate that accomplishment. But as a public company, we are owned by shareholders, but I will tell you first and foremost that we don't run the company for the shareholders. We run it for our employees, who will serve our customers, who will create outcomes for great outcomes for our shareholders. A lot of times you get asked the question, I've said it before, who's more important, your employees or your customers? And sometimes you guys may not agree with me, but my answer, it's the employees. Why? Because if they aren't happy, if they aren't engaged, if they aren't driven, if they don't feel appreciated, if they don't know where we're going, we will have difficulty building great products and giving you great experiences. So take care of your employees, who will take care of your customers, who will take care of your shareholders. And in the last 2 years, we have went to our employees and we have made them owners of our company. We've gifted them stock, and we've also introduced an employee share purchase program where they can actually buy stock as an employee at a discount versus the price that's on the market. So we are trying to get them engaged so that they are with us on the journey going forward. And again, I guarantee if you stop somebody in Forest City who's an employee for us, they're going to tell you good things about what's going on in our company, and they're going to tell you not so good things. Because we're still on a journey to be a better employer, in 9 campuses, in 8 cities, in 5 states here in North America around our business, almost 5,000 employees. So last thing, I do want you to know that it's not all about the profits. We are trying to be a company that is very mindful of our impact on the world as a whole. And so there are a lot of discussions happening in our organization around corporate social responsibility, called CSR, environmental, societal, governance issues, ESG, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. So there's your acronym alphabet soup for the morning. But we're a $2 billion public company. We have to be one of the leaders over time in those areas. And we are far from it, unfortunately, in a couple of those areas, in being as diverse and inclusive as we want to be, in being as safe as we want to be with our employees, but also measuring our environmental impact and putting more programs in place to make sure that our footprint, both in our operations, but also in terms of what you use in the market, is very mindful, obviously, of what's happening out there. So I just want you to know that we're working on those things. We're trying to create goals and actions and scorecards. Our board is asking about those things. And so it's not just about building great product and giving you great service, but it's about doing it in a way that you as a customer would feel proud to be associated with. Because again, tomorrow's generation is asking a lot of great questions about things like how are we managing our environmental impact from our plants. And they are choosing brands based on some of those answers, which is probably not a bad thing, you know, going forward. So I want to thank you for being with us this morning. I think we maybe have around about 10 minutes for some Q&A, and Brian could come back up. We'll have Brian answer 95% of the questions, right? Good. But I want to thank you for listening to Brian and I this morning, for being customers, especially for being attendees here at the 50th Grand National Rally. We want you to be lifetime advocates. We want you to tell the right people in our company when something isn't working the way it should. But we also want you to be believers that, you know, we will continue to be net positive and net better going forward, you know, in the future. So thank you again for your business and for being with us.
Well, folks, I hope you learned something useful from that speech. Good day.